Okay, let's do some handstands. Let's warm up. As soon as there's some people on live, we can get some questions going. I've just done some handstand push-ups for my training today. Trying to get consistent 5 reps back on the deficits. So I was doing a handstand, coming down to collarbone, touching the box, and then back up again. I was doing that on the wooden box though, so I get those 5 reps. Consistent. I got them in the week. On the session I've just done, then I got like 4.5. But I want to get that sort of 5, being able to do sets of 5 back again. A few months back, I hurt my shoulder doing weighted vest handstand push-ups. Never really done them, and they just overloaded it. Went too heavy, too quickly. Done the reps, but then afterwards felt really horrible in the shoulder, and it's taken a good 6 months or so to get back to a point where I'm comfortable in the handstand push-up again. I feel like I'm there now, so the repetitions are going back up. So so I want to try and get that 5 to 10 repetitions. It'd be lovely to get 10 reps on those deficit handstand push-ups, but I don't know if that will ever happen at my age, but it's a cool one to go for. Guys, anyone on, fire away with questions. We'll do normal, just I'll answer anything I can, demo anything I can. Just create a bit more space. I'm still hiding the junk in the garage at the moment. So the goal is to turn the garage completely into the gym. Slowly push everything out of the way and get it completely out of the way. Just put a handstand video up as well on handstand balance about max holds. So I can always hold a 2-minute handstand hold. You'll see my video about that I've just put up. And I go through window of balance. So being able to hold in your handstand, and then when you're holding here, you're in the middle of your balance window. And then when you start to go over towards overbalance, you have a certain range you can go there. Same in underbalance, we have a certain range we can go in that direction. And if we go outside of that, we fall down. So the goal is just to make that window of balance as big as possible, knowing the drills that you need to do to open up your window. And then once you know how big your window of balance is, kicking up to that window, holding there consistently for time to build it stronger and stronger, but also to increase the window of your balance so you have a bigger catch. So when you kick up to handstand, when you do a handstand push-up, when you do a press, you have somewhere to go to. A lot of people with the skills, their window balance is so small and it's dynamic, so it moves. So once you do a handstand push-up, your window of balance changes to an angle and then comes back up again. So that window of balance comes down and goes like that. Press handstand, it's more level, but it moves in and out depending on where you are in your press. So if I'm further forwards here, I'm balanced there, but as I come up, I have to shift it more back on top of the hands. And then when I come back down, it shifts again, maybe into a different position, back and forth, but you still need to know how far you can push it in each direction. Okay, let's see if we've got any questions. Hey, sir, my handstand balance is 10 seconds. 10 seconds is awesome. So 10 seconds is enough to accumulate time. So you can do sets of 10 seconds and then you accumulate, and in a session, you could get like 2 minutes in a handstand. And that's a really good way to condition your handstand or aim for a target when you're training. Is just go, okay, I must complete 60 seconds in a handstand, and you just accumulate it in the least amount of sets you can. How did you gain so much stability in your handstand? How do you go into a handstand so elegantly? So that's window of balance that I was just talking about. So the bigger you make your window of balance, the easier you can move around in it. It's exactly the same as when we're on our feet. We can move towards overbalance and we can move back towards underbalance, and we have this massive range all the time. It's just when you're learning, your window is tiny. So learning to be able to move around in a handstand is really important. So normally it's the heel pull drills, the toe pull drills, the ones that have been used for years and years and years. These ones we pull from the wall to a handstand and back again. So that's teaching my overbalance. Think you're going up to handstand though. When you come off the wall, you're not collapsing. So we don't want to do this because that will make you come down. Same thing the other way around. So toe pull, getting the shoulders to come forwards and move there and learn to balance that, have that control, and then put both of those together will create that big balance window, and then you'll be able to hold you'll have way more control in the handstand, and you can enter, exit, press, handstand push up, move in and out of the positions. So how do you find your window balance? So if you do those two drills, the back to wall one and the chest to wall one, that was going to tell you how much space you have on either side of the handstand. So the further your hands are away from the wall, the bigger your handstand is on one side, the smaller it is, the smaller your window balance is. So over time, you want to try and increase that. Is holding a handstand for 1 minute long enough to start practicing one arm? Yes, it's what the quality of the one arm is. The 1 minute is. So if you can kick up 10 out of 10 times, you should be able to start playing with shapes. So if you can then start to play with a straddle handstand, if you can get a straddle handstand that's really strong, is very consistent, so you can always kick up into straddle. So I went through this. I put a video up like 3 or 4 days ago on the one arm handstand, and it goes through these prerequisites. So consistency of kick up, being able to kick up every time, catch the handstand consistently, then being able to hold not only in a straight position, but we need better hold a really strong straddle handstand, and then we can start to play with that straddle handstand. So you can start to doing that really early on, and then if you follow that handstand video that I put up, he'll show you the next progressions, but you'll only be able to do the next progressions when you can. So to start with, it might be 5% of your handstand session where you're starting to work the one arm handstand drills, and then as you get more confident with the one arm handstand drills, your session will be slowly taken over by the one arm handstand only. So then you just do a quick 2 arm warm up and get straight to your one arm handstand sets. Do you have any tips for planche? Yeah, do it enough. Do it regular. If you really want to get strong at planche, you want to be training like 4 or 5 times a week. And doing like different types. So planche leans, tuck planche, become very good at those 2 things. So planche leans and tuck planche. Make sure your protraction is really spot on. The protraction is king. A lot of people really go forwards with the shoulders. I'm definitely guilty of that, where I go really, really far forwards with the shoulders, but you collapse through the shoulder blades. So making sure that you can get into a planche position where you're really rounded in your upper back, so rounded through there and not collapse down like this. You can feel the difference. Like that hurts my shoulder when I do that, but in that position it feels nice and strong to get into that real rounded protracted position. Spend loads and loads of time in that position. You'll see a lot of the guys that are amazing at planche sort of walk around all the time in a planched rounded back position, like really domed and really muscular around that area. You perform handstands with flat feet. So flat feet is interesting. It's very similar to pointed feet in a way because it creates tension, whether you have flat feet or pointed. The only downside is it does tend to fire the hip flexors and things as well. So when I flex my feet, so when I do that, it also like pulls in my hip. So it nearly encourages this hip flexion. So ideally we want to be more open. So having a pointed toe extends and locks everything and extends the body more. So you'll probably find that in a straight handstand, if I kick up here in a straight position, I feel taller and longer. But if I go into a flex position, it tends to close through the hips as well. I mean, it's not bad. Like it creates tension. Like I can probably do a one arm in a flexed foot position. So there's a one arm in a flexed foot, pointed. You see the tension is very similar, but I would practice more pointed toes if you can. It doesn't matter too much, but apart from that hip flexion, if that does affect you, it's quite individual on that. Show the pet. Rosie's there. She's 7-year-old Labrador. She's always in the background. She's got used to me training now. She doesn't climb all over me so much now unless she wants food or something. But yeah, she's always there. Any other questions, guys? I'm going to rush through them today, so I've got to get a school pickup. My latest video was a huge help, thanks. The one I've just put up, the hold the handstand for 2 minutes video. Do you think practicing with a weighted vest would increase progression? I haven't had great experiences with a weighted vest. I stopped. I had that bad experience. I hurt my shoulder doing handstand push-ups with a weighted vest. But I think it's because I'm relatively strong in a handstand push-up. And then I added like 20 kilos weighted vest and was doing like reps at that, trying to get handstand push-ups deficit on a box. It felt okay when I was doing it, but I hurt my shoulder afterwards. So I think I overloaded my body too much too quickly with a weighted vest. It also feels like it's restricting you in some ways. So I think there is, like, I'd play with it occasionally, add it in as a little extra, but I wouldn't train with a weighted vest all the time. Have I ever tried breakdancing? No, I've had, there's a local guy, Andre, who's really good at teaching breakdancing. And he's been to some of my handstand classes and my gym when I had that and stuff. And he was trying to teach me certain movements. But no, not really tried breakdancing. I like the real static stuff, like and real strict handstand push-ups, presses and stuff. I think as I get older as well. And also because this is my job. So I coach for a living. So the risk of hurting myself is too much with some of the stuff. Like I really enjoy watching like parkour videos, breakdancing, stuff like that, and really appreciate what those guys do. But I'm just, I think I'm getting a little bit too old to push the boundaries too much, stay in my comfort zone. Yeah, I like the static stuff. Even when I was training with Ido, like I didn't like any of the locomotion stuff too much. And the more dance type movements, I wasn't a big fan of that dynamic stuff too much. I just really like strict stuff. Yeah, window of balance is everything. It's really, really important. Understanding that not only in the handstand, but in the handstand push up, the press, everything, like even like a muscle up, it makes muscle up so much easier if you can work out the center of your balance and then use it to your advantage. So like in a crow to handstand would be a great example of using your window of balance to help you up out of the handstand. So if you think when I'm in this position, so when I've got my feet back on the floor, my weight or my window of balance, I'm actually outside my window of balance relative to my hands because my feet are on the floor. And if I go into the middle of my window of balance, I'm going to break the watch. As I go into the middle of the window of balance, my toes come up. So now I'm in the middle of the window of balance. But if I go hang out on the other side of that window to the point where I'm nearly overbalanced and falling, as I take the shoulders down, as I lift the hips, it catapults me up to my handstand. See how easily I went up because I'm falling into that edge of the overbalance and pushing at the same time, and it scoops me up into the handstand. So if you can use it at the right time, it's actually really beneficial for your handstand push-ups, for your presses, for all the movements. But if you get it wrong, it'll do the opposite. So your handstand push-up can feel like you're 10 times heavier because you're hanging back towards underbalance too much. 30 minutes a day, good practice. Yeah, like consistency is. So whatever works for you on a regular basis is best. I'm a big believer of shorter, more frequent sessions than 2-hour session and then don't train for 5 days. So I would prefer shorter sessions. My sessions are normally around an hour, but I'm always making content when I do my training sessions as well. So it's probably like 30 minutes of training in there and then 30 minutes of messing around with the coaching and doing tutorials and stuff. But I do that at least every day. So maybe it's twice a day sometimes. If I can do one freestanding handstand push-up, should I start training deficits? My goal is 90 degree. Yeah, yes, definitely. So what I would do is one, I would have eccentric deficits in your program straight away. So as soon as you feel comfortable to do them, I would start playing with an eccentric. And it could just be a slow entry to a eccentric position. So, on the steps, I could be here, do a slow entry to that shoulder stand. And then as I get more comfortable with it, I can start to lower into that position. And then eventually, obviously, from handstand and lower all the way down there So you can start to, like I get people doing those slow entry to shoulder stands even before they've got a standard handstand push-up, because it really fills the gaps. It really just gets to the point where, you know, you're not just going to this halfway place there. You want to really go down to this full position of the full range handstand push-up. I can do freestyle handstand. What's a good progression to do if you want to do a top set of 5 reps? So I would be training 5 reps, whatever level you're at. You just need to do the progression that allows you to get 5. So if you're doing 1 repetition of freestyle handstand push-up, see how many you can get on the wall of your standard handstand push-ups. If you can't get 5 there, you'd have to do a pike push-up variation. So you do your pike push-up variation to train your repetitions, but then you do your skill work with your standard freestyle handstand push-ups and combine those. So you're getting enough strength work from those 5, so say a 5 set of 5 through the pike push-ups, and then you slowly increase the repetitions to maybe you do like a drop set type movement where you go 2 freestyle handstand push-ups, 1 handstand push-up against the wall, and then 2 or 3 pike push-ups as quick as you can in the same set. So you just do like a drop set. That works really well, and then eventually you'll just get up to increasing the reps of your standard handstand push-ups. How to kick up properly. So kick up properly, learn against the wall first. Make sure you have a really, really strong base. So that's the bit that most people don't focus enough on, is the base. So that's the same with any of the skills. We need the base super strong, and stable and consistent. So if I'm going to kick up here, I'm going to have my hands on the floor. I'm going to have my shoulders directly on top of my hands. So I'm not back like this. I'm on top. I'm going to pick a focal point. So somewhere I look between my fingers. So there, when I'm in that position, see how that stays the same. Let me turn around so I don't kick the wall. So exactly the same setup. So there, shoulders on top of the hands, pick that focal point, keep that exactly the same. Now I kick, and then I come back down. So notice that shoulder doesn't change. And then if I get all the way up, it still is in the same position. Shoulder, focal point, hands, come back down. It's still there. Most people will do this, and they'll kick forwards, and then they try and kick up there, and then they'll kick up over there. They'll move their head dynamically while they do the kick up. So they're just moving the base around when they're trying to kick up, and that just gets them in trouble. My handstand max hold is 22 seconds, but my kick up is so inconsistent that I could do a 5-second hold for my life. Any tips? Yeah, so basically what I just said there, just really practice that base, kick up to it. Kick up super close to the wall, but don't touch the wall. So that will really teach you to stack and then kick up to handstand instead of over. So if you just kick up really close to the wall, so if you're So I kick up here, super close, and just try and kick there, like that. And then just keep going until you catch one, hold there, feel that position, and then come back down again. And then worst case, you might touch the wall a little bit, but you're still practicing that balance. But that just commits you to a smaller window. And then when you do it away from the wall, you're going to still be in that smaller window, and you'll have less moving around, trying to recatch, go into underbalance, overbalance. Pike push up to handstand position, wide or normal in pike position. I go wider and externally rotate. So all the strength work, I'll take my hands. So if my normal handstand position is there, my handstand push up is there. My planche is probably even a little bit wider, a little bit more externally rotated. 90-degree handstand push ups would be the same as planche. Standard handstand push up, 2-arm handstand. And if I'm doing a 1-arm handstand, I'll probably be there because then I can get more to there. So you slowly move out wider for the strength movements to create more space. And normally external rotation is the best for most people. Yeah, to the end of my video, I mentioned overbracing. I'm definitely guilty of that. Not sure the cause. Probably a mixture of mostly strength and some flexibility. Yeah, so normally it's because you're trying to use strength to control body position. So that can happen if you're over flexible. So if you're very, very flexible, or if you're not flexible. So if I'm trying to get into a handstand line and I'm missing flexibility. So I'm stuck in this position that I actually can't put my hands above my head. I could force myself in there. Now I'm over bracing to hold the handstand, where ideally I'll be relaxed in this position. Or if I'm the opposite and I'm really, really bendy, I have to then stop myself wobbling about, and I have to really brace to do that. And I can teach myself to do that. And then the other reason is like we think that we're supposed to brace really, really hard when we handstand, like hold your breath and squeeze your abs and your glutes really, really hard. But you shouldn't. You should be able to have a conversation. You should be able to breathe normally. If you want to get a 2-minute hold or even a minute hold in a handstand, you should be able to talk while you're doing it. If you're not, you're bracing too much. So it's not about learning to brace harder for longer. It's about relaxing in an efficient position. But it might be that at the moment, if your flexibility is not good enough, you might need to relax the handstand and make it a little bit more of a banana shape. And that's what's going to give you your handstand balance instead of fighting to get into a position that you can't actually get into. Pseudo push-ups are good for handstand balance. Yes, like anything that's going to put more weight into your hands and shoulders. The biggest thing about going up into a handstand position is confidence, control in the hands and shoulders and upper body, and decreasing the legs. You see it in things like yoga, CrossFit. Yeah, everything's about the power is coming from the legs, or the flexibility is coming from the legs. So you get someone who's super flexible because they've done lots of forward folds in yoga, and they'll do this. So they have a real deep forward fold, but in this deep forward fold, see how much weight's in my legs as opposed to being forwards. So the more things I can do and get forwards and up into that direction, the better. So anything that increases weight forwards is going to be good for you. Just watch the bent arm conditioning. Like if you're really strong in bent arm or do loads of bent arm, that's going to affect you. So, planche work is probably as important, if not more important. What would you consider the top 5 exercises for well-rounded strength? It depends what your goals are. Handstand push-ups, press, and handstand balance. So there's 3 movements there. And skin the cat. So a straight arm pulling movement that covers the planche as well. So what's that for? And then I would say planche on top of that. So if you do all of those, you'll have a really rounded strength from a calisthenics upper body point of view, but we haven't spoken about legs. Now, one of the beauties with the training press exercises, even some of the planche variations, is that it should force you to work your hip mobility. And when the hip mobility should come things like Cossack squats and stuff like that. Now, obviously, deadlifts and squats are really, really important and very, very good for you from a functional point of view. So I'd recommend that you do them in some way. But something like a Cossack squat or a straddle movement, straddle mobility exercises, working towards straddle splits where they're active, will really condition your legs as well. So you have strong, usable legs that aren't stupidly heavy for calisthenics. But if you're not into calisthenics and bodyweight strength, I'm assuming you are because you're watching this, but then you would say that they wouldn't be your top 5. No, you'd go bench press, chin-ups, squats, lunges, deadlifts, something like that. Do you ever challenge yourself with timed handstand holds? What's your goal? Is it monthly or yearly? No, I don't now. No, I'm pretty happy. So my goal when I started this style of training was to get a 1-arm handstand. And then as soon as I got to a point where I could start training 1-arm handstand, so that was having a consistent 60-second hold, then I was happy with that. I started to train for a 3-minute handstand balance hold, but got bored with that training because it was so it's just long holds. And I actually didn't change anything. I can consistently hold for 2 minutes plus. So like 2 minutes to 2 minutes 30. Whenever I kick up, I can do that. So I just keep that. So I don't try and go beyond that. And in terms of goal-wise, I'm pretty happy with everything I'm doing at the moment. I'd like to increase a few more reps with my handstand push-ups. But actually on the floor, I'm pretty happy with those. To be able to do 10 handstand push-ups is fine for me on the floor. I'd like to get 5 plus consistently deficit handstand push-ups. And then I want to get a strong straddle planche and full planche for like 5 seconds. I think that's a realistic goal for this year. The full planche will be interesting to see if I can actually get it. I think I can, but that'll be interesting. So, but I'm just seeing how long that takes. I'm not too worried about that. I've pretty much got the main goals that I want to. It's more consistency for coaching. So be able to always do a press handstand, always do a handstand push up, always do a one arm handstand is really important to me. How can I hold my handstand for longer periods of time? Just increase that balance window. So watch the video I've literally just put up this morning. So I go through that. So I go through the conditioning. So the line conditioning to be able to hold the line, the window of balance. So understanding that and making that stronger and bigger for you, and then how to train it. So I've got demonstrations and stuff in that video. So watch that one. That will give you everything you need. So tell me about your country. Well, I live in Australia. So, and I can see I'm in Perth at the moment. I'm originally from the UK. Been out here like 19 years. Yeah, I love it. It's awesome. It's got a good balance. It's very, very hot today. I'm sweating like anything. It's like 40 degrees today. But I love it. It's awesome. Do you train differently for taller or heavier clients? Yes and no. You still go through the same progressions. So you have to go with where everyone's at in terms of their level, and then work out their progressions that fit their body type. Obviously, there's certain things like if someone's got really heavy hips or legs, then certain movements are going to be much harder for them. If they're much heavier in the upper body and lighter in the lower body, if they've got long arms, long limbs, things are going to be different, but they still have the same progression line. It's just certain things are going to be easier or harder. Like most tall people can hold a front lever better than short people. Most short people can hold a planche better than tall people. Heavier people are going to find bodyweight strength harder. Lighter people are going to find bodyweight strength easier. But that's just their progression line in terms of how long it's going to take them. In terms of the actual progressions, more or less the same for most people. But yeah, the thing I actually change the most for clients is what they're into, what they enjoy the most. So I might give certain clients different progressions or different exercises because they don't enjoy other ones. I think that's really, really important. If you take something like a one-arm handstand or even a two-arm handstand, you need to enjoy how you're training it. If you don't, you're not going to do the repetition. And if you're not going to do the repetition, you're not going to get the skill. So I think it's more about finding a practice that fits you, fits your lifestyle, and fits that more than what your body type is. Ankle weights, are they helpful? Yes, I'd use them some of the time. So ankle weights are fun and interesting to use. They magnify everything. So if you're in a very good position, a very good place, it'll lock it in and look really good. But if you're in a slightly bad position with ankle weights on, it'll magnify that and make it look even worse, and you'll fall. Is a tuck handstand very difficult to learn if you can already do a handstand well? Tuck handstand is about flexibility more than anything. My hips are still super tight, and I still find a tuck handstand uncomfortable. It's the hardest shape for me to learn. But I've got clients that just basically fall into a tuck handstand because they've just got really good mobility in the upper back and in the hips. I don't. So it's very down to the individual. So it'll be down to you. But I would definitely include tuck handstands. They're very, very good. The way they condition the upper back and traps and the shoulders and allow you to bring your legs down very deep for presses and stuff like that is really, really important. Which is best, gymnastics or calisthenics? It's an individual choice. In my eyes, I do a mix of gymnastic strength training and calisthenics. So I'm not doing like crazy muscle ups and spinning around the bar and stuff like calisthenics athletes do. So it's more terminology. I like doing ring muscle ups, handstand push ups, and things like that. Now, is handstand push ups calisthenics or gymnastic strength? It's just terminology. I don't know. Some people would say it's both. Some people say it's one or the other. So I just really like doing handstands, handstand push ups, presses, planche, levers. And some basic, I say basic, it's basic for a gymnast, ring skills, muscle up, skin the cat, forward rolls, things like that. Is straight arm strength for press handstand important? Yes, definitely. So if we look at the press handstand position of the shoulders, what happens? It's exactly the same what happens at the start of the handstand push-up. It's exactly the same what happens in the balance. So if I have my hands here, I take my shoulders past my hands and push up. So this is now straight arm strength. There, I'm still hanging out in straight arm strength. And then I go back to my headstand. So this position, like it's also the start. I can't do it because my hat's on. And the finish of the handstand push-up, and then I take the shoulders back. So this straight arm strength, and it's the start of your planche type movement, is so important. It's the missing link for a lot of people because we don't tend to train straight arm strength. So when people get into this style of training, especially if they've come from more bodybuilding type training, they struggle with the concept of it because it's so different to what they normally do. So yes. I've definitely noticed a difference in straight arm strength. I can hold a straddle front lever, but I can only hold a tuck planche for only a couple of seconds. Yeah, the thing with the planche as well is it's very repetition dependent. So like you literally need to do hours and hours of planche training to get a planche. And if you're taller, you got longer arms and stuff, then probably it's going to be harder as well. So you'll have those two things going for you. Yeah, 6'3" wingspan. Yeah, so those things are going to be harder for you, but you will find other things will be easier. There's definitely people that can planche who are taller, but to get into like a full planche or harder progressions, you just need to make sure as well that your protraction and your push up is really, really good. A lot of people dump into their scapula when they lean way too far forwards, even in a tuck planche. So they're like hanging off their shoulder blades. If you can really round your back and get your body to push up and forwards and not just forwards, it will make things much easier because with long arms, it is going to really take you crazy far forwards, which then you've got a really big lever arm and it's hard to hold there, and you'll sink through the shoulder blades. So up into protraction will really help you. Would you suggest learning to walk on your hands to benefit the practice? No, I've never been a big fan of walking on the hands. Even like CrossFitters and stuff I've trained, I prefer to teach them static handstands first. It does take more time, but once you can do a really strong static handstand, you can walk on your hands. But someone who can walk on their hands can't do a static handstand hold. So it's a bit like sprinting. When you sprint, you don't actually sprint like that. You're actually falling forwards and you run in that position. Handstand walking is more or less the same. So you get people that will come handstand walk in this position, but say they're doing a CrossFit competition where they have to stop and turn around, or if they have to stop and go up an obstacle, they suddenly can't do it because they're so used to just falling in the handstand walk. So I wouldn't necessarily train it unless you've got a specific reason for it, or it's a goal. To me, it's not a goal. I can do it, but it's not a goal. So I don't tend to give it to people unless it is specifically a thing that they want to do. Nice talking to you too. I've got about 10 minutes left, guys. What are some helpful pieces of equipment for handstand and handstand push-up training? If you're anywhere that has an IKEA, get some IKEA steps. See that white step there? I'm sitting on another one now. I use that for majority of my handstand training and clients. And if they can't get those in the country they're in, or we try and find something else similar. You can use those crates. See that black crate thing there I've got there as well? They're awesome. And the cool thing with these steps is they're super stable. You can use those for presses. So I can press off these boxes from a partial range point of view. Number one, look how stable they are, like super strong. They cost like 10 Australian dollars, I think, or maybe less than that. I can put my feet on them here, so I can press up from there. So I can do partial range. I can do L-sits using my P-bars to shoulder stand. You can obviously do handstand push-ups on them. I use them for stretching. So they're priceless, really, really good considering the cost of them. A wooden box is fantastic as well, like the plyo wooden boxes. You're actually on one now, the laptop's on one. They're fantastic as well because they have the 3 different heights. So they're super useful for all the calisthenics exercises. Portable P-bars, fantastic. One of my clients made me these ages ago and they're still going. These are my favorite by far, these P-bars out of all the ones I've used. These ones are great because you can get, some of these you can get and then can change the height on them. I'm a bit limited. Like if I try and do a front lever on these, I think I like more advanced than a tuck isn't too bad because I can let my body out in front, but doing a tuck front lever on these, look, I can't really do it. The yellow ones I've got a little bit higher, but you can obviously, there's two of those, so you can do your L-sit on those, shoulder stand, handstand push-up work, planches, dips. Like they're super good because they're portable and cheap. Most countries will have somewhere that does those. And then rings. Rings are, you know, they do so many movements. Bang for your buck, they're probably the best. But, you know, if you're into this, like what I've just shown you would be perfect, and then have some sort of pull-up bar. I've got a fixed one in the garage, so there that I hang rings off. It's super close to the ceiling, so I can't do like chest to bar chin-ups or something on it. But then I've got the rack here as well. You can see that there's the rack with the bar on it, which gives it adjustable. And I've got another one out the back that I can move around and stuff as well. But for me, because I'm trying to film multiple different things as well, I want to have as many options as possible. So I probably got more than the average person needs. But even then, compared to like a standard gym setup, it's, you know, very, very cheap. Should we wear a wristband doing handstand balance or push up? I assume you mean like a strap. Like the calisthenics guys will wear straps and wrists and supports or elbow supports. It can help. My only concern with using anything like that is if you use it all the time and you suddenly don't forget it. It's like wearing a weight belt all the time. If you forget it or train without it, your body's so used to using it that you'll probably hurt yourself. Where if you train most of the time without it and only use it occasionally, maybe you get some pain or discomfort, but you want to keep training, something like that can help you. So I wouldn't unless you really need to. I'm having trouble putting my legs together in the elbow lever. Is there more like a straddle? It's more like a straddle with my legs. The two-arm elbow lever, it depends whether that's one arm or two arm. One arm, you shouldn't have an issue bringing your legs together because there's just so much more space. With a two-arm elbow lever, to get your elbows into that position, extend the body and bring the legs together, is really hard mobility-wise. So that's why your legs pop apart. In a single-arm elbow lever, you should be able to bring your legs together because there's a lot more space. So what we're talking about here, another reason these steps are really good. So something like a double-arm elbow lever, you can create more space there straight away because I'm already in that position. Single-arm elbow lever, that's easier to bring the legs together because it creates more space by not having both arms in that position, that arm out. So I would try elevating the hands. Elevating the hands creates more space because you can go over it to get in it, and then as you open, extend, and really try and extend from the feet and the head so you get a natural curve, which creates more space. And it also creates one segment, which makes it much, much easier to hold elbow lever with more extension and the body acting as one segment. Handstand push-up and press handstand push-ups are enough skills as a goal together, for example. Yeah, definitely. So if you worked on balance, handstand push-up and press, that's awesome. Like that's a really good setup. I'd do a little bit of planche work if you can in there as well, and do like a skin the cat. So the cool thing with a skin the cat is it's hitting multiple things at once. And it will also give you a back lever and stuff for free if you're doing some planche work and doing a skin the cat. And you're going to cross off the front lever work as well. So it's a good one exercise that fits in that. but definitely handstand push-ups and presses is good. Yeah, get the steps. You won't regret it. They're cool. Do you think that straddle handstand push-up is your progression for the legs together due to the decreased amount of lean required? In a handstand push-up, no, not necessarily. I think legs together or legs just slightly apart in a handstand push-up. Do you mean handstand push-up or like 90-degree handstand push-up? Definitely 90-degree handstand push-up is easier in like a frog legs or straddle, but a standard handstand push-up, it doesn't really make any difference. A lot of people like to have their legs slightly apart. I definitely do, just because it uses more energy to squeeze them together. You mentioned you had tight hips. How long did it take for you to get relatively flat in straddle pancake? It took me about 18 months, I think, to get head to the floor. But I hit straddle. Because I wanted to press handstand so much, it forced me to do my mobility. Like, it really kicked me up the butt to do it. So I was doing straddle, pancake, and Jefferson curls every day. I would sit in a straddle every day. So I hit it really hard. But I went from, not being able to sit in a straddle, like leaning backwards or a rounded back, to flat pancake. Yeah, about 18 months to 2 years until I was like getting chest to touch the floor, chin, chest. Hey, Richard, how you doing, buddy? UK is up now, aren't they? What's it? 2:24. What's the time in the UK now? It's like 9 a.m. or something. And thank you. Thanks for the support, buddy. Yeah, handstand push-up. Yeah, no, I wouldn't. I would just go like apart, let them go where they want to go. Just keep a little bit of tension in them, even if they're open. How to turn hands during the 90-degree push-up. I actually externally rotate mine the whole time. So when I do a 90-degree handstand push-up, I'll keep my hands like that most of the time. On this flooring, this like gym matting flooring, it's hard to swivel the hands as you do the push-up. On wooden floor, like what they have in the yoga studio where I train, and some other floors, you can turn the hand as you do it. You can turn the hand on these as well, but it's just not very nice on the skin and doesn't feel very natural. So I'll tend to, just keep it in the same place. Just learn to handstand slightly externally rotated. Or use P-bars, but then you have to learn to balance on P-bars. When you kick to handstand, which part of the hand are you focusing on? Just the palm. So I want to be more in the palm position. I'm not really focusing on anywhere on my hands. It's just more about pushing down into the floor and keeping the shoulders on top of the hands. So I don't directly think about having a certain part of the hand weight into it. I think more like in the middle. You don't want to feel like you're on the extremes of on your fingers or on your heel of the palm. Oh, that's also Rob. Great to hear, buddy. Let me know if I can. If you've got any other requests for videos and stuff. 6:24 in the UK. Okay, I got that totally wrong. I should know that considering my parents are living there, shouldn't I? I always talk to them when it's my morning, so I'll call them when it's their nighttime. How to balance neutral grip on the ground. I wouldn't be too neutral. I would just externally rotate a little bit. And if you want to change your hand position, like I definitely wouldn't go all the way around, but if you want to change your hand position, you just need to regress. So however you learn your handstand, so whether you use the wall drills or whether you use a different method, however you learn how to handstand, you just have to go back a couple of steps, change your hand position, and then do the same thing with that new hand position. You'll learn it quicker, but it's the same as if you wanted to handstand on, if I suddenly want to start handstanding on P-bars, if I want to use handstand blocks, these are fantastic to learn on, especially if you're going to go into one-arm handstands and stuff. But there is a learning curve. If you're not used to doing it, you need to get back, make things a bit easier, and then go through the progressions again. Okay, guys, I'm going to have to call it a day. I've got to get to the school, pick the kids up. Last question, which is harder, handstand on the floor or bars? Whichever you've learned on. I'm much better on the floor because I've done way more on the floor. There was a point where I was much stronger in my one-arm handstand on P-bars and canes than I was on the floor, but now it's probably floor is probably about the same. Saying that, I'm not as good as on my one arm as I used to be. Yeah, cool. All right, guys, I'm going to sign off now. Keep any questions coming down in the comments and stuff, and just reach out if you do have any more questions. I'm trying to put as much content up for you guys. My app is up. If you are using my app, then please send any suggestions, requests, feedback. If there's any changes they want there, that would be awesome to know. I'm trying to put more and more online classes, programs, but I want to make sure that I'm spending my time in the right place. So any direction there would be awesome. Thanks for your time, guys. I will be on probably next Friday. I'm trying to do these weekly videos coming up daily as best I can, and I'll speak to you soon.